This is a story of a young sales intern from a department store who became an innovator, entrepreneur, and a chairman of a leading Indian conglomerate, Nichrome India. Born in an educated Maharashtrian family, Ramesh was a bright and inquisitive boy bubbling with energy to explore new things. His father Vinayak, who was a marketing professional, advised Ramesh to enhance his English communication skills in order to succeed in the business world as young Ramesh aspired to become an entrepreneur. When he passed his matriculation in 1956, Ramesh worked as a sales intern in Dorabji, a reputed cosmopolitan departmental store in Pune, India.
Hello, I am Kedar Borgaonkar from Intrix Designs. We are in Nichrome India Limited, which is one of the leading packaging machine and integrated packaging solutions provider for past 5 decades through 50 countries and 11,000 installations. The journey of Nichrome has been led by its innovative chairman, Mr. Ramesh Joshi, who has been instrumental in providing growth-related applications across various industrial domains. Today, let's have a rendezvous with Mr. Ramesh Joshi and understand his professional journey over these 5 decades. Greetings, Joshi sir. You are entering into your 90th year.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Referring to your biography, Maji Corporate Yatra, you started your career after your matriculation in Dorabji Departmental Store as an intern. Can you give some idea about that first job?
That was just an internship for 3 months. Because in those days, the colleges used to start on the 20th June. So my internship ended on the 31st of May. Half day I used to go. In the morning I used to go there. And the purpose behind that was my father told me that if you are going to do a business, then English speaking is very important.
True.
Even though it is known to you that you have to speak the English. And if you go to the Rabjis, you'll be trained to speak. It will be spoken English. So I went to the Rabjis. The Rabjis was a different store in those days. That was a department store under one roof. Everything was available. As there was a counter for cigarettes and cigars, there was a pharmacy shop also. And the grains and the teas and everything. I mean, ham, then chicken, everything was freezer. That was in the freezer. But practically everything. So once you go into the shop, you shop anything. Even the crockery was there in those days.
Great. So, you started your internship in Dorabji's, and today, Dorabji Department Store has most of the packets of various items lined up, which are incidentally manufactured, packed in Nichrome packaging machines. So, how do you feel about it?
Well, when I go there, I start talking with the packing. In the old days, the customer used to talk to the salesman. That is the difference today. That the customer is bound to buy something. Salesman is not important. And that as per the times, it has changed during the last 70 years or 60 years. It's a fast-moving job now. The sales have increased. The brands are increased. The branding is different today. In those days, there was no branding. Even teas were not branded. Coffee was not branded. Everything used to be loose.
On mixtures used to be given in combinations.
Yeah. Especially tea.
Yeah.
There was a list of combinations like Darjeeling tea 1, Darjeeling 2, Orange Pico number 1, number 2, and then the promotions were given.
Okay.
So accordingly, we used to go behind the counter, add those, then pack it in the carton. Not carton, it was kind of a bag, paper bag, and give it to the customer. Now that doesn't happen. There is no Orange Pico. There is no number 1, there is no number 2, there is no Darjeeling. It's just a tea.
Okay.
So that is the difference in those days and now.
Okay.
Even the rice which we are getting on in the shop, today's shop, we don't know which rice we are purchasing. Because there is a difference in basmati and other rice. But what is the other rice? We don't know. So that is the difference has come now.
Okay. In 1961, you started your first job as a supervisor in Nichrome
Yeah.
Metalworks. Can you give some idea about your first job and your profile?
I had a small chemical laboratory. I will not say even a pilot plant because I was producing about how much? About a kilo per week powder of anthranilic acid, which was required for S.H. Kelkar, the perfumer, the famous perfumer.
They were exporters also.
They were export. They were. I mean, their major business was exporting.
Okay.
I used to supply to them, and during floods, everything washed off. Nichrome Metal was also washed off. They lost not only the machine, the shed, but also the land. I mean, the soil also, and nearly 16 feet deep soil was lost. So, after about a week's time, my mama, that means the proprietor of
Mr. Vinabhai.
Vinabhai Panaspe, he came to me, met my father, met me, and he said, let us bring back Nichrome on the rail first. Then we'll start your chemical factory. I said, okay, fine. Because I did not have money also. So, okay, I said. And then it started. But next day when I met Vinabhai in the office, not in the office, at his home, I said, let me try something else because you are doing fabrications outside Pune. And those just fabrications were about 50 tons, 100 tons, small factories. I will do something else. So he asked me, what is in your mind? I said, I know one Mr. Bide, who is general manager of Walchandnagar, because he was staying right across. And during our discussion, he had told me that they have acquired knowledge of manufacturing sugar plant. Entire sugar plant will be manufactured by Walchandnagar industry. But he said, what we need are the erectors. So, because they can't erect, we will send the machinery, you erect. So, can you do a job? I said, I can do it. And then I told Binabhai that I will take sugar factory erection. You look after fabrication so that the fabrication will go outside plant because the shed was to be constructed, the soil was to be filled in the Sangam shop. So that work will go on. At the same time, we will start earning money outside. That was the. So, first plant was taken at Sankeshwar in Karnataka. I did not know anything about sugar manufacturing. I told Bede about it. Then he said, come to Walchandnagar, stay with us for 3 days. So I went there, stayed in their guest house. One Kulkarni engineer was there. He had the maps. That time the computer was not there. And he showed me from where to start and how to end and how much labor require, when it should be start, everything. I mean, and I said, okay, if you help me, I will erect. And then he started laughing. He said, yes, we are after you. And then Kulkarni used to come there once in a week. And we started, Sankeshwar was erected first. So we were the first to erect the complete plant with the turbines and the boiler. Because these two are the most important things in the sugar industry.
You took over most of the responsibilities of Nichrome.
Yeah.
And started taking various contracts, government orders, and multiple big projects apart from sugar industry installations. In this, you have taken multiple big orders, big scaled up projects in various parts of the country. So, can you give us some idea about those specific projects, which were milestones of your life?
Yeah, sure. I forgot to tell you one thing. After Vinabhai's death, he died in February. I had an immediate problem because in the steel market, local market in Masjid Bandar, a rumor had spread that certain trader has purchased Nichrome.
Correct.
And the trader stopped buying the steel, selling the steel to me
Nichrome.
on credit.
Okay.
In those days, we used to get a credit of about 60 days. They said no. I said, why? They were not able to tell me. But one of them took me to his office and said, look here, Ramesh Bhai, nobody will give you credit because such and such trader has bought your industry. I said, we have not sold it because I was a partner, I should know.
Correct.
He said, but there's the rumor. And everybody is afraid that if they supply the steel, they will not get money. So that is why nobody will give you money, steel on credit.
Okay.
Then that day I was really worried that how to come out of it. So I went to the Bank of Maharashtra because that was our Jawaharaji Bank used to say. And in Mumbai, general manager was one Mr. Vasant Padgaonkar. And he was in Pune, so I was in connection with him, contact with him. And I went there, I just sat right in front of him in an air-conditioned office. And he recognized there is some problem. So he offered me a glass of water and then said, Ramesh, there seems to be some problem. I said, yes. And then I explained it to him. And I said, I'm now giving a advertisement Times of India that Nichrome is not sold. He said, nobody will read that Times of India in that market. They are all Gujaratis. I said, okay, if they are Gujarati, I will give it in Gujarat Samachar. He said, he started laughing. He said, no, they don't read the newspaper. They only read Aaj ka bhav kya hai. So this is not going to work. Do you have a letter? I said, I have. Then he said, prepare a letter. And he gave me, in those days, it was known as TOD, term overdraft.
Okay.
So for 6 months, he offered me 50,000 rupees, a credit in the Bombay branch, because we had the account there. Our Bombay checks used to be dubbed there, and then it was transferred to Pune. So he said, day after tomorrow, your account will have 50,000 rupees. Come day after tomorrow, encash it. Go to the market. Don't go to any trader's office. Stand in that square where they are selling it and ask them that Nichrome is paying cash, ask discounts. And I said, okay. So I went there. I stood there. I said, I will pay you the cash. Give me discounts. I will not give you charges for loading the truck. I will not give you charges for cutting the steel. Give me a fixed price. And then everybody, there was, this broke, today's breaking news. That was the breaking news.
Okay.
And Nichrome rokda ape che. So there were about 10-15 people immediately gathered. Ramesh bhai, chalo, hamare office mein chalo. I said, no, I want it here. And then out of that 50,000, I purchased about 9-10 tons. Because in those days, the rate was only 900 rupees a ton, 800 rupees a ton kind of thing.
Okay. Still.
So about 10 trucks were sent to Pune. All the material we could use during the year or maybe something. So it came here. It so happened that June 2nd, Turf Club secretary came to our office. I was in Bombay that time. So he kept a message. So I went to the Turf Club on the 3rd. And he said, give me a quotation till today evening. We want 3 towers to be constructed in Turf Club. He showed me the places also. The height and everything. He said, the photo one people, because they were the people who wanted to put the cameras on the tower. So those specimens you take from there.
Okay.
I said, where are they? He is sitting outside. So bring a quotation, sit with him. What are their requirements? You have to take into cognizance, and then make a design accordingly. So you have to design it. You have to make the foundation. You have to make the structure, and then a small cabin on the top. And all we want is within 1 month.
30 days only.
So 4th of July, we want everything ready because 6th of July, there is a race.
Okay.
I said, sir, 30 days. He said, yes, 30 days. So I went back, I made my calculations, added about 20%, 10%, whatever. And by the evening, I gave that quotation to him. He looked at the quotation. He asked the steno. The steno came, typed the order. And then at the bottom, he added that if you complete this within 30 days, on 4th of July. Club will give you 30% bonus. And the another line, if you don't give it on 4th, there will be 30% fine.
Okay.
I said, okay, fine. I will work for bonus naturally. And then the work started. So workers were paid overtime. They were given incentives. The structural engineer was appointed. He made a structure. There was no time to make a design on the paper. So we put it everything on the ground and started assembling it there.
Okay.
And then on the 4th of July, everything was ready.
Great.
I took the secretary everywhere and he said, well, I can't give you a check now because the accountant has gone home. Come tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, you will get your check. Next day morning, I received the check.
Okay.
Now, those towers are still standing there. And whenever I pass that road, I look at that because that was my starting point. Not only starting point, but that was the moment when I established my leadership in Nichrome.
Okay.
The workers started looking at me at different
Perspective.
The family started looking me at this different perspective. And then
Everything
it started.
got started. There was one instance when you took over with the big role of a leader. You took up the installation of uh, carrying the ferrous stones in 8-kilometer conveyor belts,
Benalila.
8 uh, similar belts of 8 kilometer
Yeah,
each.
yeah.
That was a big.
That was a big task. And that was to be completed within 2 years.
Okay.
Because that time the government of India had entered into a contract with Japan.
That was Bastar Beradila.
Bastar, Benalila. This is about 100 kilometers away from Jagdalpur,
Okay.
uh,
MP.
MP. Yeah, in those days it was MP. Now it is Chhattisgarh.
Chhattisgarh. Correct.
So the railway was being built from Bastar, Veladilla to Vizag, because they wanted steel to be those steel tones, which was having 75% of ferrous. It was very heavy, and those stones were to be transported to Vizag, and there the ships would be loaded and sent to Japan.
Okay.
So that day was decided, and that day Indira Gandhi had decided to visit Beladilla and inaugurate that travel. I mean,
Okay. Conveyor project.
No, not conveyor project. The train itself,
Okay.
loaded train. On that day, she wanted to flag it.
Okay.
Well, that was the contract.
Commitment. Huh?
So we started working there. It was 3,000 feet high mountain, not mountain, I would say hill. Deep forest. But the government had already laid foundations. So we constructed, we built, put the conveyor belts on it, all within 2 years. And on that due date, everything was ready. Even the stones were down at the station, and what they used to call something else, I don't remember now. But that tray would fill one wagon, rake.
Okay.
So that was ready because Mrs. Indira Gandhi was to arrive next day.
Hmm. So it was done in the record pace.
That was also that was a record. You see, there are so many records. At Koradi, the Maharashtra State Electricity Board had the shade. That was a 3,600 tons contract again. The columns were weighing 18 tons. So 2 columns of 18 tons. And the portal on the top of it was 36 tons. Till that time, it was used to be erected, lifted manually by putting 3 pulleys and then hayya hussa, that kind of thing.
The traditional process.
Traditional process.
With ratchet and pawl mechanism, with chains and everything.
When I went there, I saw it. I told my engineer that if you do that, then we will have a loss because too many people will be required there to hoist it. So can we do a winch? And we had one winch. So he said, sir, we will have to take permission from the MSB. I said, why? So they said, nobody has tried it, nobody has done it so far. I said, let us talk to the executive engineer there. So we went. There was one Mr. Bhave. I asked him, he said, well, nobody has done it. I have never seen anybody lifted mechanically. Everything was manual. So you will have to obtain permission from Mumbai, from the chief engineer. Mr. Godbole was the chief engineer there in Mumbai. So we came back to Pune. We made our all calculations, how we are going to lift it, how much, uh, what power of motor we will use, what kind of ropes we will use, everything. And then finally we said that this is possible. Then I went to Mumbai, met Mr. Godbole. I explained it to him. He said, leave the file here. I will let you know within the next 4 days. I said, okay. After 4 days, Mr. Godbole called me.
Okay.
And he said, yes, Mr. Joshi, it's fine. You can go ahead. So we went another bench and we erected it. Our time estimate was wrong. We estimated 4 hours to wheel to go that 36-ton portal up on the columns.
Installation means.
Installation. So Mr. Bhave asked me, what is the timing? I said, we'll start at 5:30 because that was summer. And afternoons are very hot in Nagpur. So I said, we would like to finish it before 10 o'clock. He said, okay, I will come at it. I said, okay. Actually, we started at 6 o'clock. 6:30 it went up.
Oh, much before.
Much before.
Great.
So our people were there. They bolted everything, this thing went away. And Mr. Bhave came and he saw that. He said, how much time will you take? I said, half an hour. It is impossible. He called his assistant engineer. He asked him, what do you think? He said, sir, it just went like a feather. And that was the time the news spread amongst the other contractors in Koradi. That was Saturday when we erected the first frame. Monday we were to erect the second frame. And that time about 25, 30 people from other companies, they were standing away and looking at how it is. They were watching. So that was a great success, because taking it, in those days there were no cranes.
Correct.
So that was the most different thing,
Innovative thing.
And even in sugar factories we use this
Okay.
later on. Those big crystallizers we used to lift. So winch, no manpower.
Okay.
There I met Vasantdada Patil in Sangli, because their work was to be done.
Okay.
And when he saw that, he called me and then he became friend.
Okay.
He was a very good friend of mine then. And that friendship was used when we put our first fill pack machine in Mumbai. But that's a different story.
From 77 to 84, at that point, you realized that there is a strong need. That was a point where you identified a strong consumer need for milk packaging. So you decided to prepare the first milk packaging machine. So that was a paradigm shift for Nichrome.
Yeah, that's right.
Can you please elaborate on that?
You see, in those days, there was enough milk in the villages, which we did not know. That milk was not supplied to the consumer in the cities. So there was a rationing in cities. You have to go to the center with the bottles and limited milk, 1 unit, 2 unit, that's it. One day, farmers in Marathwada, they filled those aluminum cans in a truck and brought it to Aurangabad. Those days, Aurangabad. And poured all the milk in the commissioner's house compound.
Okay. Compound.
So nearly 5,000 liters of milk, imagine, lying there in the compound. What would have happened inside? The people couldn't go out. That went bad. It was smelling anything. The people inside came out. That was the quiet demonstration.
Okay. Agitation.
Kind of agitation. Next day, that news came in the paper. After 2 days, there was an interview of one Mr. Sundarrao Solanki. He was the dairy minister.
Okay.
So he gave an interview in the papers that we don't have means to give the milk in the cities because the government of India has sanctioned only 2 machines to manufacture, bottling plants to manufacture, to Larsen to grow.
Hmm.
Now imagine the cities, how many cities were there in India? Only 2 plants in a year because that was a license Raj. There was no restriction on the small scale. We were a small scale industry. So he said, if a small scale industry gives us a machine, uh, a plastic pouch packing machine, then we'll buy it. So when I read that news, I said, we can do it. Now, did I have the knowledge? No. But then, market was there. I smelled the opportunity there. So I went to Mumbai to meet Sundarrao. I met Sundarrao. He said, Joshi Saab, I don't know anything about it. I just collect milk and give it to the government. You go to our secretary. Secretary was one Mr. Koshal. So I went to Koshal and there was a red carpet. When I sent a message inside that we would like to make a machine, I was called at that minute. Come in. And then I went inside. I sat right in front of him. Before I said anything, he said, Mr. Joshi, I have heard that your Nichrome is a big gun for contracts in fabrication, erecting sugar machinery and all that. I said, yes. Do you have knowledge of milk machine? I said, no. He said, we want machine within 6 months. I said, I will give it to you. Then he asked his stenographer. He called him. And he gave me a letter stating that if you put a machine in government dairy in Mumbai, and if it works for 1 month, government of Maharashtra will give you many more orders. I took that letter, came back to Bombay. Next day, I was sitting right in front of the general manager, Bank of Maharashtra. I said, sanction me a project loan of 2.5 lakhs. He said, for what? So I said, I showed him all the news. I have, in my book, I have given it date-wise. When it was appeared in Times and everything is there. So I said, this is required and I want to give it within 6 months. He said, do you know anything about packaging? I said, no. And then I asked him, I was not knowing how to erect sugar factory, but I did it. He was impressed. He said, yes. Immediately sanctioned 2.5 lakh project loan. With that, I started.
Okay.
And then, on the date given, our advertisement appeared in Times of India. Seeing is believing. And the machine was kept working in our factory at Sangam Bridge. We had enough water, we had a well. So we were filling water. Many commissioners from state departments, they came and have a look at the machine. Everybody was surprised because, But then there was a shortage of film, polythene film. Metal Box was making films, but they had a very small machine making about 8 tons of film a day.
Metal Box, Mumbai.
They had the machine. But otherwise, the polythene was imported. But then, that was government. I have the machine. So I took that machine to Gurladari. I put it up. We wanted to come. No, I went first, before making the machine, we wanted to make the design.
Okay.
And under Colombo plan, the government of Maharashtra had received 2 milk filling machines, plastic filling machines. But they were not commissioned, they were in a box.
They were imported.
They were imported. They had opened the front and kept it. So when I went to a dairy manager and tell him that we want to have a look at the machine, he called his foreman. He told his foreman to close that machine. He closed completely and then he said, now go and see. That's the government secret in those days.
How it was a cruel response.
Yeah, but that was the government. So we went. There was one Mr. Angel along with me, our draftsman. We stood right in front of the machine and started thinking, thinking the logic, how it is fed, how from where the milk should come, what was the bulk density of milk, how much milk should be stored in between, because there are 10,000 liter tanks. From there it comes, there is a pressure from below and tank. All these things we started talking right in front of that box. So the logic was made there. How the film will come, how the milk will come, how it will be folded.
Imagination and visualization, we can say.
And the simple way that Anwar said, sir, he was wearing a t-shirt. I was wearing a shirt. He said, look at your shirt, sir. So why? So he said, that will be folded like your shirt.
Okay. That was a,
This is the collar. We will make a collar. From the collar, it will come inside. And then it will be welded, that will be a tube.
okay.
I said, fine. Can you design it? Yes. He said, yes. So we went back to Pune, started designing, simultaneously started making it, because 6 months.
Okay.
So the machine was ready within 6 months.
Great.
Now, after we took the machine to Mumbai, we asked the dairy manager again, same dairy manager, that now machine is there, you give milk, you give compressed air and water to cool the electrode. So he said, in that letter, this is not said. Because the letter you are showing me says that machine should be tried. So you try it. I said, how can I try without milk? He said, but where it is written that I should give a stainless steel pipe? So I went back to Mr. Poshel. I said, the machine is ready. It's there. It's commissioned. But there are no supply lines. He laughed at me, smiled, asked his secretary to set up a visit to dairy day after tomorrow.
Okay.
One phone call from him. The next day, everything was set.
Okay.
And we started the trial. So that was the 7th of March.
Okay.
It took little time, 1 month we struggled with
It coincided with your birthday also.
Yeah. It was about a month we were struggling to commission it because everything was unknown.
Okay.
So something used to go wrong, then start and everything.
Okay. Trial and error.
Yeah, yeah.
Lot of permutation combination.
Ultimately started.
Okay.
And that was the 7th of March. 8th of March they started delivering milk
Okay.
to the localities.
Great.
10,000 liters every day was being supplied.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Sir, for this milk packaging machine, Philpack, you got many appreciations from the industry, appreciations from the government departments, appreciation from customers. But getting a compliment from competitor is something that is unique. You had mentioned one instance of a French director coming to your place and appreciating you.
No, not our place. It was an exhibition
Okay.
of packaging machines. It was a pack machine
Okay.
exhibition in Delhi. That what was that ground?
Pragati Maidan.
Pragati Maidan.
Okay.
It was there, and we had our stall. Of course, we had solid filling machines by then. Our competitor had a stall about 2 stalls away from us,
Okay.
and suddenly I saw a European who was carefully watching all the machines from everywhere because machines were open. I mean,
They were for display. Huh?
yeah. But he was keenly observing the milk filling machine. And then he came to me and asked me whether, are you Mr. Joshi? I said, yes. And then he introduced me, but I don't remember his name because there was a French something. So he said, I am owner of Prepack. Prepack was the only competitor we had here,
Okay.
French company. And he congratulated me. And he said, your machine is different. You have a different design. Now, can I ask you one question? I said, what? He said, can I copy your machine?
Wow.
I said, why? Why do you think so? So he said, your machine is very simple in operations and very simple to maintain.
Oh, that is
It
a
is open.
unique aspect. He noticed. He noticed.
He noticed it. And then I said, okay, then let us have a relationship. So he said, after 7 years, because I am tied up with them. Never happened because that was bought by later on by DuPont,
Okay.
and they closed that division. But this was a compliment from French manufacturer.
Who was the that time competitor?
Yeah, that
Technically a competitor. So getting a compliment from a competitor is a big achievement.
It is a big achievement. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. That is a important benchmark.
Yeah.
Not just the fill pack machine, milk packing, but getting a compliment for its engineering, for its architecture, is itself very good. In 1981, you had done solid packaging prototypes
Yeah, I will
and
tell
lot
you.
of testing.
I will tell you the reason. I used to go to LDB, National Dairy Development Board. That time, under Operation Flood, milk powder used to come to us. And European Union has given 600 crores in dollars
Okay,
that time, with a condition that they should buy machines from Europe.
Europe. Huh.
But they had not specified the machines.
Okay,
And there were certain conditions that you will not tax it, there will not be tariff, importless import duty, sales tax, octroi, nothing. It'll just come. And they were in the process of giving tenders. So I started inquiring. You see, any big organization has two groups. You know? So one of the group told me that we have, NDDB has, there is no contract, but it's a verbal assurance that we will buy 1,500 machines from Prepack.
1500.
1,500. So that was a national requirement that time
Okay,
in a year. And that is why we will not buy your machine. Everybody was against buying the Indian machine. And then I had a problem what to do if they don't buy. So I thought, as after the milk machine, I thought that I have entered Alibaba's cave,
okay.
and there are so many diamonds and you know,
Opportunities.
opportunities. So we started listing, going to the shop, list what we can do. Oil was one of that, then rice and tea and coffee, this. So in 81, we thought that we should ahead of the market. We started designing a machine for solid. The machine was ready, but there was no customer because there was no awareness. I went to the Rabjis. That time the Shavak Shah was there. I Shavak Shet को बोला, अरे भाई मैंने मशीन किया है आपके टी के लिए. He said, are you mad? I said, why? He said, this pouch of paper cost me 4 annas. And you are telling me that plastic pouch will cost 18 annas. Why should I buy your machine? So I said, nobody will buy. I came back dejected, but then kept on trying. Suddenly, Gits, everybody know.
Famous company.
They're famous.
Gulab Jamun mix.
Gulab Jamun mix. They are famous now. Those days they were very small. They had imported an Italian machine. And along with that Italian machine, the machine was accompanied by 2 packaging machines.
Okay.
But the sample they had given them had different characteristics when it was manufactured. When it went to Italy, it had different.
Okay.
So the machine was made for that material which went there in Italy. So the machine did not work here because that product was to be filled.
Conditions were different. European, Indian conditions.
No. The characteristic of the product was different.
Okay.
You see, it was kawa.
Hmm.
So when it is manufactured, it's hot.
Hmm.
So the particles are different. And they're,
Composition.
yeah. And then if you keep it, then they accumulate
Okay.
like a laddu.
Hmm.
So they made the machines for that material.
Hmm.
It did not fit here. And then one day this Mukhtar of Gates.
Hmm.
We used to meet to the train. He knew that we are making the machine. He said, "Sir, ऐसा है, क्या करेंगे?" I said, "You come to the shop, have a look at the machine." He came to the shop, looked at the machine. I said, "Now I want to see the material." Then I went to Gates in Hadapsar and I saw the process. And then I said, "I will give you the filling machine first. Don't have to sell. I will take my trials and take the filling machine back." So we made a filling machine first, tried artisan for a day, adjusted the flows and everything,
Hmm.
and then that was fitted on the machine.
Okay.
That was given to him. So Gates entered the market with pouch formed on our machine.
Wow. That is a
Yeah.
important
Then
aspect.
after 15 days, he placed another order. Within 2 months, he bought 4 machines.
Okay.
But then it stopped there because no customer other was requiring that kind of a machine. And then suddenly Tata Tea,
Hmm.
they were
That was
in the
in-
market that time.
That was in, but sir, before that, the prototype testing that was there is one photograph in the book which showed that the people were throwing the pouches on floor
Yeah.
to test the durability. How was that logical?
No, that is not logical. That is not the test of the machine.
Hmm.
That was testing the polythene.
Polythene, huh?
Because seals, when it seals,
Hmm.
it is 110% stronger than the polythene
Okay.
because two ends are welded.
Hmm.
So you can't open it. You in the daily life you must be saying those snack.
Hmm.
You can't open it.
Hmm.
You have to cut it. So that was the test for the polythene.
Okay.
But in those days, the people used to think that the seal will open.
Hmm.
So that is why that fellow, Russian fellow,
He was actually throwing it on the floor.
playing on the floor.
It's
Not
it,
throwing.
it-
I mean, yeah, throwing like a ball.
to test it whether it breaks.
It did not.
Okay.
I will tell you another incident. Bank of Maharashtra, Lok Mangal,
Okay. Pune.
Pune. I think they were opened in 79, 70. And they had an exhibition downstairs. And that time, Morarji Desai was the prime minister.
Okay.
So he came for the opening of the
Head office.
head office. We had kept our machine there. And suddenly police said, "You can't take the compressor inside." And then we were thinking what to do. Then I thought that, okay, if they are not allowing compressor, let us take the nitrogen cylinder inside. We took the nitrogen cylinder inside. That they did not object for the nitrogen cylinder. On that pressure, we started feeling when Moraji came.
Okay.
So he was about 15 feet away, seeing on the stalls and coming towards us. We had stopped the machine, waiting for himself. And when he started coming towards us, we started the machine.
Hmm.
And as the pouches produced, he lifted that pouch, he put it like this and released. He wanted to see whether it breaks.
Okay. He himself checked the durability, the strength.
And yeah, and that was a hard trip for me. For a second, I lost a beat, but nothing happened to it.
Okay.
And he said, "छान झालंय." He used to speak good Marathi.
Okay.
So he said, "छान झालंय. कुठे बसवलं?" I said, "This in Mumbai." "Okay, I will send somebody." I said, "Okay, thank you."
So this was the second compliment, big compliment.
Big compliment.
After the French manufacturer, our prime minister.
Not after. This was before.
Okay, this was before.
This was 87. The computer came in 87.
Okay, okay.
But this was Morarji Desai.
Hmm.
So those are the gems of my life.
Actually. And in fact, they are inspiring for everyone.
Yeah.
After that, in 1984, you prepared the first tea packaging machine. The powder packaging began
Yeah.
in Nichrome. And after showing the test runs with various tea companies, Tata was the one who tested it, and you bagged 25 machine order
Yeah.
in 84. Can you elaborate on that?
Tatas were not in the market till that time. they were supplying tea in chests, wooden chest, to other brands, other
Okay.
leading brands. But as Tata, there were no pouch on the market or nothing on the shop floor or the store floor. So Tata thought differently. Instead of putting it in a box, as other brands were putting, Tata's wanted to put it in a pouch because they saw the milk pouch and must have seen pouches abroad. I don't know because we did not know what is happening abroad. So they came to us. They bought the first machine. We put it at Munar. When the pouches came out, and the day they launched their product with big advertisements in the papers, they had 7% tea market on the first day.
Okay.
When others saw that success, they naturally came to us. Not only they, not only tea, but the other products like rice, like atta, like spices, they also started contacting us for pouching. From there, we started going up and up. Practically all the states in Assam is having our machine today.
All these streets.
All states.
Great, great.
Even in those days of agitation of Bodos,
Okay.
our engineer was arrested and kept
Okay.
one day in there.
On suspicion.
Yeah. And then the word from Platters came, then he was released.
Okay.
But that happens in the wherever there is it happens. Even in Bhavnagar it had happened in Gujarat. So apart from that, we started giving the machines for all the products. And then designing the flow was the challenge
Okay.
because every product has different BOD. BOD is bulk density.
Okay.
Each product is different. So accordingly, you have to decide which auger is to be designed, how it is to be designed, all that kind of thing. These are the things which are different in other things and very difficult because the character of product is unknown. Some products like sunrays, the others do not like. So we have to give some barrier films, something. Then normally the customer in those days, they were not knowing which materials should be used.
Okay.
So that is why we made the pouch gallery. And we started educating the customer for use of material. So it was like entering into an Alibaba Go, as I said earlier.
Hmm.
So when I stopped working here in 2002, we had about 125 recipes of all the products with us, design.
Okay.
Now there must be something more, about 50 or so, because we are in agrochemicals now. We are in pharmaceuticals now.
Okay.
So they are also developed, but I don't know the number today how much we have.
Okay. That is a big achievement. While leading Nichrome, you were having 10% share in Nichrome. Then how did you reach the point of having 100% ownership in Nichrome? Can you please elaborate on that?
Sure. You see, everybody has his own ambitions. Everybody wants his own future in his hand, as I wanted to have. But I had developed a love for Nichrome. I wanted to remain. Others preferred to go away. So they had their own settlements and they released, they sold shares to me.
Okay.
And at a price we bought them and I became 100%.
After becoming 100% owner of Nichrome, what was your vision and how did you take Nichrome ahead?
When we were together, we had started exporting. We were exporting it to Russia, Ukraine. That was the major nations where we were exporting. But I turned 60 in 97. And I wanted a future, I wanted to lead Nichrome somebody in the future also. Harish was working in Dubai My Harish is my son-in-law. He was working in Dubai in a company which was making those small plastic cups which are used for yogurts. So he knew the packaging machines in Europe. He knew the customers. He knew how to manufacture it. It was a different thing because that was the cups, not the machinery. But the cups was very different. His knowledge was different. He had passed engineering. Cup manufacturing was not his business. So naturally, he was a entrepreneur like me. He can learn anything. So I requested him to come and join me. Initially, he was not very much interested because other partners were also there. When he learned that everything is now owned by me, he decided to come back.
Okay.
So he actually came in India in 98, but he had no experience of Indian laws, Indian market, Indian business, Indian labor laws, and Indian labor mentality also.
Okay.
So he said, Baba, I would like to work with you for 2 years. I said, okay. Then we started working together. He was not holding any shares that time. In 98, he joined me. We worked up to 2000. I saw his passion. And that age, I was not moving much outside, but he toured everywhere. He met all the customers, came back and reported, Sir, Baba, our brand is a big brand. Everybody is honoring our brand and we should go ahead. So I said, okay, then you become joint manager director. He agreed. So he became joint manager in 2000. 2002, I thought now it's enough is enough
Okay.
because I was 60, more than 65.
Okay.
And then he became managing director.
Okay.
So the company, which was doing about 25 crore business that time, in a short period, he took it to 85 crores.
85 crores.
85 crores. That was in 2013.
Okay.
And he was a different character. He was enjoying everything. He was enjoying his work. He was enjoying the building where we are sitting now is R&D center, has come out of his imagination. He wanted this building to happen.
Okay.
Originally, our design department was sitting in Pune. He said, no, I want it there. Then in those days, there were drawing boards.
Hmm.
He said, I don't want to carry those boards. I said, then how you will design? He said, computer. I said, but our boys are not trained. So they will get training from somewhere. I want the boys. And our people, they joined the classes. He paid the fees. And they started working on computers.
Okay.
So that is how we design now. So this is his contribution to the company. Then this building was constructed, office is there, and then we were thinking of buying a company in UK.
Okay.
Everything was done. The papers were ready. He was supposed to go there, I think around 17th of October for renegotiations and signing. I was so happy that an Indian firm is buying British company who had ruled us for 150 years.
Actually.
But there is always a gap. And that gap is called as niyati,
Fate.
fate. So I lost him on 28th of September. And that dream was shattered. And then it was very heavy loss. I have seen 2 deaths of those who were heading this Nichrome. The first death of Binabai
Okay.
in an accident in 69. So that time also, nobody was there to lead the company. I stood that time. Had I gone away that time, then our family would have blamed me. that at the time when we were needing, he had run away. So I did not run away at that time. I kept myself here, shouldered the responsibility. This time also, I shouldered the responsibility. On next day, he expired I think on Saturday, Friday night. I was in Coimbatore. From there I came here. The next day, at 8 o'clock, I was at the factory gate. And I told all my workers that the company will be run by me, so don't worry. But I want work as it was. So everybody started working with zeal. And that time, there was an order of 23 atta filling machines from West Bengal.
Okay.
And the challenge was all the machines were to be supplied by October end. Otherwise, there was a 10% penalty.
Very short notice.
A very short notice. But he had accepted the order. So I put myself again in the gear, started working. All the 23 machines were dispatched on the due date. Mrinal took little time to come here, it was natural. But then she came. Till that time, I used to come here 3 times in a week and 2 days in the Pune office. Then I started coming here. After she joined Nichrome, I started coming here twice. And now I am coming only once. And I don't look anything. I have no interest. I mean, there is interest, but I don't ask anybody what is your job, what are you doing, how much you are. That's not my job.
Towards the conclusion, I have one question. You are now turning 90.
Yeah.
What is the secret of your good health? You have maintained a very excellent work-life balance throughout your life, maintaining your health, maintaining your work, maintaining your social circles. So, how did you manage this?
Well, I think you must learn to enjoy everything. One thing I can tell you that I am going for a walk, walking those days 5 kilometers a day in the morning, go out at about 5:30, come back at 6:30, get ready, have breakfast, go to the factory. A usual routine. But as they say, mita ahar, I used to have very small lunch, very small dinner, but breakfast like a king.
Okay.
So even if you don't get lunch, it doesn't matter, because I was working on the sites and lunches there were very expensive. I mean, there were no lunches. I used to go, and if I am hungry, I used to go and used to eat bhutta, because that bhutta used to get everywhere in sugar
Yeah,
factory.
farms were there around.
Yeah. So one bhutta is enough.
Okay.
So, I mean, there was no fast food, a simple food at home, and regular in your exercises. That is most important, one thing. Other most important thing is you learn many things yourself. You start thinking about what you see around, how the people you meet them, what are their habits. If there is a good habit, you start making that habit yourself. I mean, that is all. I didn't do anything else other than that. Lived a very simple life. Today you ask me how much do you eat? For breakfast I do. But even if I skip the lunch, I don't think it is great. I mean, it's okay. Evening, small portion, and I keep myself happy. I don't have blood pressure, I don't have diabetes, I don't have anything. And I have no worries. That is most important thing.
Actually, very important. What would be your message to young professionals?
Well, they should be creative. They should create a product. They should manufacture a product and create jobs.
Going for job, becoming a job applicant, they should go forward, create a business that would offer jobs to many people.
And keep your future in your hand.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your life journey. It has been very inspiring to us.
Thank you very much for filming it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.